Benson Boone, the headliner at the American Family Insurance Amphitheater for tomorrow's show, I should say. I'm getting ahead of myself here. The 3rd of July will feature Benson Boone. Kind of blew up because of so much of his success on TikTok and the like, and then busting out backflips at the Grammys, all of it. So you know it's going to be a good show for him on July 3rd. And over at the U.S. Cellular stage, it's of course about the ground stages as well, and Fox 6 happy to be a sponsor of that stage. Here's what's coming for you tomorrow. Z Blast along with Era Star performing at the U.S. Cell stage. As for some of the things that we're tracking around the country as well, we do want to tell you about something happening out in Idaho, and that would be, let me pull this up for you right now, what exactly is happening in the Brian Kohberger trial. He has now pleaded guilty, and this is the plea hearing for the person who has now pleaded guilty in the killing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students. So this is a hearing right now, the Kohberger plea hearing in Boise, Idaho, something we will try to take you there for over the next couple hours that I'm with you here. And then also happening on the other side of the country, this is the door that has become so infamous because it's been our shot at the Sean Diddy Combs trial throughout its long run, close to 2 months, finally culminating today. The longtime rap and music mogul found guilty on 2 of the 5 charges he faced, but acquitted of the far more serious charges. So this has been the look that we've gotten. No cameras allowed inside of that courtroom as the Sean Combs trial has played out in New York City. Today, the word that the verdict was in. Sean Diddy Combs found guilty on 2 counts of transportation for purposes of prostitution, but not guilty on racketeering, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and a second count of that as well. Now, those would have carried a maximum sentence of life in prison. Instead, on the lesser counts, he is found guilty of transportation for purposes of prostitution. A maximum sentence of 10 years in prison goes with those, and remains to be seen what exactly the sentence will be. Let's check in real quick. We are good to go here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. That is good news. Thank you for working through some of the issues with us. Carl Deffenbaugh with you here at our Fox 6 studios, bringing you the news as it happens on both Fox Local as well as the Fox 6 Milwaukee YouTube channel. Now, one of the other things I want to punch up is what's happening in Washington, D.C. for you as well. We'll get that up right now as a series of votes are coming in from the U.S. House of Representatives, and certainly all eyes on D.C. this week. In the final stages, Republicans hope, at least, trying to pass President Trump's really marquee legislation so far of this second term. That would be the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, with a series of tax breaks and also cuts to federal programs, including major cuts to Medicaid. The Senate yesterday voted just as narrow as it could be to pass that bill, with Vice President J.D. Vance providing the tie-breaking vote. The Republicans lost 3 senators. That was the maximum they could lose in the Senate, with J.D. Vance then providing the tie-breaking vote. It went back to the House because there were some revisions that the Senate made to the original House bill. So now the House continues those discussions, hoping to get the act to the president's desk by the 4th of July. It was kind of a self-appointed deadline the president wanted. Remains to be seen if that will happen. Democrats in the House are using different parliamentary tactics right now, trying to present a united front in their opposition to this tax bill. Different Democrats weighing in on the House floor right now with their opposition to the tax and spending cuts. And one by one, they've kind of lined up. They've made a simple request, amend a resolution before the House to protect against any cuts to Medicaid and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Now, meanwhile, Representative Steve Womack, a Republican from Arkansas, is presiding over the chamber for this. As a result, he is forced to explain to each and every speaker from the Democratic side he cannot entertain the request because of an objection from another Republican, Representative Virginia Fox of North Carolina, who is leading the debate for the Republicans. But there are strict rules for how government actually happens here in America, and under those House rules, those requests made by Democrats must be cleared by majority and minority leadership before the chair can recognize them. So ultimately, Democrats know that This effort will not succeed, but the tactic is giving them a chance to show a unity before the cameras here, as we're seeing here, and get their request to defend Medicaid as well as SNAP benefits into the congressional record. So each and every Democrat has been going through that today in the U.S. House. Now, meanwhile, other Republican lawmakers have left a meeting at the White House, with Representative Stephanie Bice posting a video of her and another representative leaving the White House after having a conversation with the president. Quote from the other representative, Dusty Johnson there, quote, "I think we're going to get it done, although it's going to take a little bit of time today." And that has certainly been the case for so much of this bill, kind of inching its way through the respective sides of the U.S. Capitol building there. The House, then over to the Senate for final approval, and now back to the House once again. Hey, just noticed this popping up on the feeds. It looks like the cameras are moving a little bit outside of the federal courthouse in New York, where the Sean Diddy Combs verdict was read today. Let's see what we can catch here live for you on the Wisconsin Live Desk. You can hear some of the crowds chanting and calling out there as I believe these are different members of Sean Combs' family, although I'm not positive about that. After news of the verdict, found guilty on 2 charges, but acquitted on the 3 most serious charges that he faced in a series of racketeering and sex trafficking counts against him there in that New York courtroom. So we're getting, I believe these are some of the clips from when all of this was kind of playing out this morning, seeing different representatives there in support of Diddy entering that courthouse. Nothing in terms of much of a response to those many different reporters' questions outside of the courthouse today. All right, we are approaching a time for a break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh here with you. We will be here until 2:30 today, as we are each and every Monday through Friday here on Fox Local. Coming up, we are going to be joined by that representative of the Milwaukee County Park System. Should be a really fun chat because of what's to come along the lakefront for the first time this year. Instead of a fireworks show, it's going to be a drone show. What does that mean? What does it mean for the people who have had decades of tradition setting up their blankets along the lakefront, trying to catch those lakefront fireworks? Well, you got to change some things this year, but still plenty of fun to be had with the drones coming to the lakefront for July 3rd. Much more about that after this break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Thank you. This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh with you here. 12:42 on this Wednesday afternoon. It is, of course, looking ahead to a massive weekend here in the city of Milwaukee. Summer certainly on. We have the third weekend of Summerfest to wrap up this year's big gig, and the return of a show along Milwaukee's lakefront, although not exactly what we're used to seeing before. And for much more on that, all the excitement ahead of this July 3rd drone show, we are joined right now by Andrea Wallace, the Assistant Director of Recreation and Business Operations with the Milwaukee County Parks Department. Andrea, great to have you on with us. Thanks for joining the Live Desk.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
I know you guys have spent a ton of time planning and getting this ready, so why don't we chat about it? I've seen a couple of these types of shows on maybe a smaller scale before at different events. It seems like there's a bit of a pivot from fireworks to these drone shows. What is the city of Milwaukee and the entire county in for this 3rd of July?
So we're really excited to pivot to a drone show, and especially right at the lakefront over McKinley Beach. McKinley Beach is a beautiful setting along with that lakefront park area. So, I mean, we have been working really hard for the last couple months with our drone company, Northern Light Drones, in curating this show and working with our sponsors, the Milwaukee Parks Foundation. So we're really excited for a long drone show. So it'll be 3 waves of about 14 minutes up in the air. So lots of different things were thought about as this show was curated. So lots of patriotic symbols, lots of park related, somebody biking through the sky and flowers and different ways to show off our parks. And then also we are excited that there's a lot of different Milwaukee themed pictures in the show.
It's almost like a ballet from the ones that I've seen, and it sounds like this is going to be even far beyond what I've ever seen in terms of watching these hundreds of drones all kind of maneuvering, meandering through the sky with their different lights, creating those images. From what you've seen in terms of renderings, what can people expect? You were kind of used to a certain, build and then the grand finale of a fireworks show. What do you think this will be with those 3 different sections?
Absolutely. As you said, it's choreographed sort of like a ballet. Where the different pictures morph into each other. There is a soundtrack, which we're really excited about. So you'll hear lots of favorite tunes that you'll know the words to. And there's the ability, if you're right there at McKinley Park, that you'll be able to hear it through a sound system, or you'll be able to download an app through your phone and be able to listen to the soundtrack that was chosen. But as far as pictures, definitely those patriotic July 4th, American flag, we'll have some of those pictures. And then, like I said, a lot related to our parks. So all the different things that you can do in our parks, from biking and golfing and, our playgrounds and things like that. And then some really iconic Milwaukee, the Hone Bridge and, the domes and things like that. So you'll be able to recognize a lot of different pictures, and there's something for everyone.
That is pretty cool. Just so I don't forget while we're chatting here, what is that app that people should have if they're not down close to the speakers but still want to hear the music? What is that?
So you'll be able to find that on our countyparks.com page. There is a section for July 3rd where you can link directly to that.
Very cool. One of the questions that I kind of had initially when this got announced was just the thought of visual angles. You can tell we work in a TV camera-based business here, but the fireworks, you can kind of go anywhere along the lakefront. You'd be able to see, get a feel for the show. In terms of the drones and creating those different images, do you kind of have to be more straight on than you would for a fireworks show, or what would you recommend for people trying to head down to the lakefront and actually enjoy the full effect?
Sure, absolutely. So there's a couple different viewing areas right along McKinley Beach. You'll be able to see it kind of heading north on Lincoln Memorial Drive, but the show is angled from McKinley Marina. So it's right off the pier. It'll be over the water. So you'll be able to see a little bit of it from the top of the hill, right there at McKinley Marina, but really going north, there's a lot of parkland, that McKinley Park, and then all the way sort of to Bradford Beach. The ideal viewing area is McKinley Beach and the area right across by the McKinley tennis courts. From the water, the show will not be as visible, so it's not like fireworks where you'll be able to see it from so many different angles. And then, you know,
oh, and I think we might have momentarily lost Andrea there, right in mid-sentence. Okay, we'll see if we can maybe work on getting that feedback, because yeah, I still had a couple more questions for her, but that sounds pretty fascinating. So different, as she said, from other years where maybe, especially for the people with access to a boat, which if you're one of them, give us a shout, would love access to your boat, would be able to enjoy the fireworks from the water. Maybe not the case this year for the drone show, and we do have Andrea back. Thank you for working through technical difficulties on our end. That's the joy of doing all these via Zoom. But yeah, you were saying there are some different challenges there. I was thinking too of past July 3rds when I've been down at the lakefront kind of previewing the big fireworks show, and people for decades would make a family tradition of this. There were the same people you'd see year in, year out, an entire campsite set up with a grill going and drinks flowing, games going for so much of that day. Are you hoping that's kind of recaptured with this, even though it's the drones, not the fireworks?
So we're really encouraging people to come down later in the afternoon, not make a whole day of it. Really enjoy, you know, after that 2 o'clock hour, late afternoon, you know, definitely enjoy, come down, bring your family. We have a lot of vendors that will be serving up different foods and beverages. Apologies, the joy of live TV. My light just went out. So we'll do this in the dark.
Yeah, you're
Apologies.
like, I haven't gone to work or left work quite yet here. Still some stuff to be done.
So you know, really kind of that after work crowd, join us in the later afternoon, you know, maybe come down with dinner, but, you know, really not making a whole camping trip out of it. Enjoying the show in the late afternoon, and then the show actually starts at 9:15.
Very nice. I feel like you need one of those like clapper lights. We need to get the back on for you from your desk.
Yes.
You know what? This is the joy of doing things on a digital platform. Doesn't matter to us. Still sounds good. Still looks good. A little more room for error there. Let me ask you as well just about the general pivot for the county park system from fireworks to drones. We know over past years it's kind of been, you know, touch and go some years about, especially coming out of the pandemic, whether or not the fireworks show would happen. Some years they were kind of rescued at the last minute and the like. What all went into the decision to switch to drones, and why is this both a bit of a cost savings for you guys, but still able to offer a different show with some other perks? I know when it comes to noise and everything like that, obviously drones are much better for a lot of people than fireworks.
Sure, absolutely. So this has taken a long time to plan and really drum up interest. So thankfully, our partner at Milwaukee Parks Foundation, you know, they have been really instrumental in getting the sponsors. So the traditional fireworks show is extremely expensive because it's shot off from a barge, and then, you know, when we pivoted to shooting it off from land, it's still very expensive, and then it takes away from that viewing area and the enjoyment of the show. So, you know, roughly, you know, at $500,000 for a fireworks show, that's a lot to fundraise. Whereas pivoting to the drone show, you know, it didn't have as many or as much cost associated with it. So a little bit more palatable and still, you know, achievable. And so I think people were interested in bringing back an event. So thankfully our sponsors, you know, Michael Hupy, Bank of America, the Brewers Community Foundation, you know, Johnson Controls, they were all really excited about, you know, coming together and putting on a community event. So as far as, you know, the viewing and that sort of thing, a scaled down event with everything happening at the lakefront, you know, that's definitely more manageable, and we're able to do that within our bandwidth. So really excited that we had a lot of community partners come out and sponsor this event. And then from the aspect of, you know, the fireworks and the sound and that sort of thing, just, you know, taking a new, fresh look and approach at a community event that's still patriotic and allows people to celebrate our national holiday of July 4th.
And I always love, personally, my birthday is July 3rd, so I love that you guys do it for me on my birthday. Don't hold out for the 4th when so many of the other local communities do theirs. So thank you for that. Very excited to check out this private drone show you've arranged. No.
Great. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Last question for you. Some of the logistics, road closures around the area, anything like that people should be aware of if they're trying to either get to the show or work their way around it on the 3rd.
Absolutely. So, we have our parking operations that open at 2:00. Most of the vendors will be open at 2:00. So we encourage people to really come down in that later afternoon. And then as far as road closures go, we are hoping that Lincoln Memorial Drive is able to stay open until 8:30 right before the show. And then we'll close down the drive for safety and then obviously for people leaving the show. There is handicap parking available on a first come, first served basis right on Lincoln Memorial Drive. So really trying to cater to that as far as getting closer to the show and allowing that parking. We have plenty of parking along the lakefront with different lots. So really it's getting down in the afternoon and, just enjoying yourself at the lakefront.
Love it. All right. I said one question more. I'm going to add another one here. Apologies. As someone who's been involved in the planning and kind of has an idea of what's to come, give us an inside scoop. What maybe one moment of the show or one part that you think people should be especially on the lookout for once it gets up and going tomorrow night?
I personally love all the Milwaukee icons. So there are a ton of Milwaukee icons that you'll be able to identify. And we kind of threw in a little bit of a cheeky homage to a Milwaukee legend that has once been removed.
I like a little tease here. That's a very good one. We certainly do that in our business. You do it quite well in your side of things as well. Andrea Wallace joining us here from the Milwaukee County Parks Department, getting ready for a first of its kind, at least for the county, July 3rd drone show along the lakefront. Thank you so much for joining us here on the live desk, and we'll let you maybe get out of that dark office now.
Thanks so much. Enjoy your day.
How great was that? All right, I love that tease at the end, though. People will have to be on the lookout for whatever she was alluding to there. I think maybe some guesses already about what that could be. We are going to take another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, giving you another gorgeous shot down at our lake, and so many of our wonderful county parks sit aside Lake Michigan there. McKinley Beach will be the focal point for the July 3rd drone show tomorrow. We'll see what we find here on the Wisconsin Live Desk after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back. Carl Defenbaugh with you here, just getting a few things punched up as we keep it rolling here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is 12:57, approaching the 1 o'clock hour. We're going to hear from our political reporter, Jason Calvi, in just a little bit about the major development, a ruling from the Wisconsin Supreme Court today, and what it does in terms of cementing access to abortion here in the state of Wisconsin. That was a case that was quite closely watched, kind of a domino effect of the U.S. Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade in that Dobbs decision a few years ago. And of course, the abortion debate has played into so much of the politics here in Wisconsin over the last few years when it comes to the governor, Tony Evers, running for office, when it comes to the certainly state Supreme Court races that we've seen, some of the most expensive and certainly record-breaking runs in the country when it comes to a state Supreme Court seat, all of that has played into the different elections that we've had recently. Jason's going to join us momentarily after he finishes up some of his reporting right now. But we also want to tell you about what's happening in Madison. Speaking of state politics, this would be the debate over the state budget. And you're seeing Senator from Milwaukee from the 4th District here, Dora Drake, speaking right now. Governor Tony Evers, along with Republican leaders like Robin Vos, have seemed to come to an agreement on a budget, but it is still up for debate in front of the entire state assembly and state senate before the votes that could ultimately send it to the governor's desk for a signature. So while a lot of the framework has been laid out and we know some of what's to come, they still have the different representatives and senators have their chance to make their voices heard. So let's listen to Milwaukee Senator Dora Drake there, representing the 4th District, and discussing the budget bill at the state level.
Is because, at least I know for sure, Black Americans, we love this country, and our history is ingrained in it. And there are many in this nation who continuously refuse to acknowledge Black history because they believe that we should just celebrate only what's good and ignore the bad. But in the dark past is the story of countless Black Americans who, even with the lowest moments of our society, still believe in the promise that America and Wisconsin believe in freedom for all. So the stories and the cultural programs that our Wisconsin Historical Society Museum isn't just what happens here. It broadens the knowledge of the impact that African Americans have had in this state and this country. And passing resolutions to honor our Black history is great, but we need to fund it too. And for that, we need to fund the Wisconsin Black Historical Society Museum.
Senator from the 31st.
All right, while the discussions there continue in Madison, this is all surrounding Senate Bill 45 there that you just heard Milwaukee Senator Dora Drake discussing. I do want to get you to the other news of the day that we mentioned here momentarily, and that would be the ruling from the state Supreme Court today on abortion and how the 1849 Wisconsin abortion law that has made national news and certainly factored into even the presidential election of just a few short year ago. Man, feels like it was longer than that, but no, back in November. How much that factored into the debate here in Wisconsin. A man who certainly knows plenty about that would be Jason Calvi, joining us now live from the FOX 6 newsroom here. Jason, I know you've been looking into a number of this. Those decisions and opinions from the justices are not the easiest reads, but you've been hard at work delving into some of the language, what was decided. So take it away. Why don't you set the stage for us? What exactly was up for debate and what the justices announced when it came to a ruling today?
The question for the Wisconsin Supreme Court, Carl, was whether that 1849 abortion ban was still enforceable. You may remember that this was state law from 1849, just a year after the state was founded. And what it did was it banned abortions. It did have one exemption, to save the life of the mother. So that's been on the books. But because of Roe v. Wade in 1973, that law stayed on the books, but it was unenforceable. So the question then became in 2022, when the United States Supreme Court scrapped Roe v. Wade, reversed it, what happens to that old 1849 abortion ban? And that's been the question. It played out in the 2022 races we saw here in Wisconsin, statewide races. It played out again in the presidential race, and it's been a constant question since 2022. What is the status of that 1849 abortion ban? And today, the Wisconsin Supreme Court gives the final answer on that. They say that that 1849 law cannot be enforced. They strike it down.
And it all kind of relates, Jason, to a series of other laws that came out in the period between Roe v. Wade and the recent Dobbs decision. So what were some of those other laws, and what is now in place in Wisconsin because of what the justices decided?
Right. And to be clear, this decision today keeps what's been status quo now for a number of years. That's because a Dane County judge had originally ruled on Attorney General Josh Kaul's lawsuit. He was challenging this law and said it was unenforceable, and I'll explain why in a second. But he had made that in the district court in Dane County, and a county judge there ruled in his favor and said that abortion law, actually, she said it wasn't an abortion law. She said it didn't ban abortion, it banned feticide. So that was what she ruled. And so for a number of years now, abortions have been allowed back happening again in Wisconsin because of that ruling. So the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruling solidifies that, saying that that 1849 law does not ban abortion. The question that Attorney General Josh Kaul made when he filed this lawsuit a number of years ago was this issue of enforceability. He said because the state had a number of newer laws that the 1849 law was pretty much repealed. The legislature, the governor, they never actually repealed the 1849 law. It stayed on the books after Roe v. Wade, but because of Roe v. Wade, it was unenforceable. So the state did pass a number of laws, including banning abortion after viability. There's a number of restrictions that the state has placed on abortion. Both of those, they assume that abortions are allowed at least at some point in time in Wisconsin, therefore contradicting that 1849 abortion ban. Attorney General Josh Kaul, he says that proves that they have impliedly repealed that old abortion ban. That was his argument to the court, and today the Wisconsin Supreme Court agrees, saying yes, these later abortion laws that have been on the books in Wisconsin for 50 years, they impliedly repealed the old abortion ban.
Now, the argument on the other side, Jason, was that there are other cases where there are different, basically different rules in effect, and those have not necessarily repealed the previous rules. What was the argument that ultimately didn't land with those liberal-leaning justices on the high court?
Yeah, I mean, I think they just said there were so many laws that were restricting abortion in Wisconsin since the United States Supreme Court Roe v. Wade decision in 1973 that limited when, where, who, and how abortions can be done in Wisconsin, that there were so many laws, one after the other since Roe v. Wade in Wisconsin, that they were pretty much wiping away the old law, that the new supersedes the old. Now, this is something that the justices wrestled with. When you read their opinions, when you read the dissent as well as the majority opinion, you get an insight into what they thought of these arguments. It was a 4-3 ruling. Remember, the Wisconsin Supreme Court controlled now by the liberal side, and they were the ones that ruled against this 1849 law, striking it down today. The conservatives, they have their dissents there for us to read, and they very much opposed this ruling. They said pretty much that they're allowing politics to determine the outcome of this case, not what the law actually intends for the state of Wisconsin.
And with Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul on that one side, what ended up being the winning side of this, Sheboygan County District Attorney Joel Ermansky, a Republican, had defended that ban. He was the one on the other side. Let me ask you about a separate case, because we were discussing this in the newsroom actually before we got on here. There was already a separate case pending with the Wisconsin Supreme Court that was brought by Planned Parenthood discussing the actual constitutionality of that law, not whether follow-up laws supersede it, but the actual original 1849 law, and there's some developments with that. Why don't you just take it away? Yeah,
so the question that Planned Parenthood raised in their lawsuit they filed in February of 2024, so last February, a year ago, they asked the Supreme Court to rule on pretty much the constitutionality. They were asking the Supreme Court to find that there was a constitutional protection in the Wisconsin state constitution for abortion, and that was their petition to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And today we learned that the Wisconsin Supreme Court has thrown out that case. So they're not going to be weighing that pressing question here in Wisconsin about whether there is a constitutional right if there's some sort of constitutional protection in the Wisconsin state constitution for abortion. That question now remains unanswered here in Wisconsin.
Interesting. One of the questions that we were just kind of tossing around with some people in the newsroom as well is, okay, so who decides viability now? Like, if you are someone seeking an abortion, does it go through the doctor? Do you know now what has to happen for it to be a legal abortion here based off of some of those follow-up laws in Wisconsin?
Right. So there's been a number of laws that have passed in Wisconsin updating and laying the groundwork for when abortions are allowed in Wisconsin. So we can look at those as we progress in our coverage today, Carl.
Yeah, kind of putting you on the spot there. But there are some things in place, I guess, that we can get into as your reporting continues today. Some of the other things from Attorney General Josh Kaul, he said he has no plans to challenge the remaining restrictions, saying the legislature should instead revisit abortion policy. We know how much closer at the state level things have gotten with the balance of power here in Wisconsin. Republicans still holding the edge, but Democrats perhaps seeing a window in next year's midterms. Where does that fall in the big picture? Because it would take a democratically controlled state legislature along with Governor Tony Evers if Wisconsin were to fundamentally change its abortion laws.
Right. And the big question right now is who's even going to be running for governor in Wisconsin next year. 2026, we're going to have that governor's race on our ballots across Wisconsin. Governor Tony Evers has not yet said whether he's going to run for a third term. He said he was going to wait until the budget process was finished. Well, guess what? We're now at that point where the budget is making its way through the legislature today. They're having, as you just talked about there, they're having that big, robust debate about the budget. And so if they do approve it, this is that compromise agreement between the Democratic governor and the Republican legislative leaders. And so if the legislature does approve it today, it will go to the governor's desk for his signature. He can use his partial veto to make major changes to the underlying budget bill as well. But then once that process is over, he said he was going to reveal whether or not he's going to run for re-election. This process is really dragged on. This budget process is dragged on longer than expected. Remember, Wisconsin's budget ends at the end of June. So right now, the state is operating without a budget for this next 2-year cycle. But what happens is the government in Wisconsin does not shut down like you might see at the federal level. What happens here without a budget is that the funding from the previous budget just continues going out. The funding stays static, but the money still goes out to support the services that were in the last budget.
Interesting. So not the government shutdowns that have unfortunately become so familiar at the federal level over recent years. Let me ask you this, just kind of a big picture question about how much of a factor you expect abortion to be in future elections here in Wisconsin. It does seem to be kind of the topic in so many of these Supreme Court races that you mentioned. Certainly here when the presidential race in Wisconsin, one of the narrowest states when it came to the Trump-Kamala Harris battle of last year. With Democratic-backed Susan Crawford winning the most recent Supreme Court race over Brad Schimmel, that was back in April. Now, she has not been sworn in yet, so she was not part of this ruling, but it kind of establishes that liberal control of the high court for a few more years through at least 2028. Do you expect abortion to be as big a topic in future elections, looking ahead to the governor's race next year and the like?
I really do, because now the question is, will the legislature act to make some of these changes to the Wisconsin state abortion laws? And so I do believe you're going to see Democrats continue. They've been doing this since 2022 with that U.S. Supreme Court decision reversing Roe v. Wade. They've really been hammering Republicans on the issue of abortion. It's been a tough issue for Republicans to navigate. And so, yes, I do think that state Democrats, including whoever runs for governor on the Democratic side, is going to make this issue key to their race, because it has been successful, as we've seen across the country and across the state, when they do bring that issue up. The key reason now, okay, we don't have this abortion ban on the books, it's not an issue, but the next issue is, should there be further elimination of the restrictions in Wisconsin? So you could see Democrats bringing that up on the campaign trail, and you're going to see Republicans also say, well, they want to have some restrictions. They're going to counter and say, well, hey, Democrats, what restrictions do you support?
Interesting, and we've seen that at different other states. It has certainly played into so many of those different balance of power. Even states that voted for President Donald Trump in the recent election at the same time also enshrined some abortion protections. So we'll see if Wisconsin kind of falls along that razor's edge as well. Jason, I know, just last thing for you, I know you kind of put out the call for questions. If people are watching right now, if they have a question for you, I know they can send you some. You're working on a number of different angles to this for our news tonight. What are you most interested still in digging into and hearing hearing from when it comes to the different advocates or the different people involved in what is such a hot topic conversation across the country.
I think your question there that I didn't have the immediate answer to is this question of the current status of what are those abortion restrictions that are currently on the books. In 2022, when the U.S. Supreme Court reversed Roe v. Wade, you may remember there was about 15 months where abortion stopped in Wisconsin. So Planned Parenthood has several clinics, and then there was another clinic, affiliated medical services in Milwaukee, that stopped doing abortions because they really felt like that 1849 abortion ban had sprung back to life, and so they pretty much said they were stopping their abortion services in Wisconsin because of that U.S. Supreme Court ruling. Then that Dane County judge many months later ruled that in fact that abortion ban did not ban abortion. She said it banned feticide. So that was what the backstory was over the number of years that we are to now in 2025. So I'm really kind of curious, okay, where do we stand right now with Wisconsin's abortion laws on the books as it is right now? There are restrictions, there's different things that the state places on who, when, where, and how. And so I'll be looking into that tonight for our newscast.
Interesting that this law from 175 years ago has played so prominently into state politics here in Wisconsin in the 2020s for sure. And Jason, diving into all of that for us, thank you very much. An interesting discussion and much more to come in your reporting here, both on the Wisconsin Live Desk as well as elsewhere on Fox Local when our newscasts hit tonight. Jason, thank you very much.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, we will let him get back to that reporting. And if you do have questions, feel free to send them his way. By the way, you can find Jason's both email and social media handles on our website, fox6now.com. If you're curious, we know people are so interested on both sides of this topic, but the update today from the Supreme Court kind of finalizing the fact that the Dane County judge had put into effect that the 1849 abortion law in Wisconsin that we've heard so much about over so many different campaigns as of late will not, in fact, be the law of the land here in Wisconsin, superseded by laws that followed after that. All right, much more to come here as I'm tracking a number of different things for you. We'll get a quick break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk and then some interesting topics nationally before we get back to our local news here in Milwaukee and in Wisconsin coming on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks for watching.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Defmall with you here, actually here for the whole 2 hours of the Live Desk today. So a pleasure to be with you here on Fox Local. Monday through Friday, we bring you the news as it happens, both from our studio here in Milwaukee, across the state of Wisconsin and the Midwest region, and even the nation and the world as it sees fit. A few different things we are tracking for you. First and foremost, we'll just give you a great shot of downtown Milwaukee there. Already 87 degrees. We got a brief respite from the really hot temperatures yesterday and the day before, but man, it is back, along with the humidity and some storms to follow in the coming days. So some things we'll have to dodge as we're preparing for all of the festivities. Hey, this is fun. I get to check out what our weather experts are working on back there in the weather office. How about some fireworks? We'll see the drones here in Milwaukee, but fireworks shows elsewhere around southeastern Wisconsin. And here's kind of what you're in store for their weekend forecast. As I mentioned, chance of storms, slight on Thursday and Friday. Thursday, the drone show in Milwaukee. Friday, so many of the local village fireworks around the area. And Saturday, chance for a PM storm as well, as that will be the wrap-up day of Summerfest. We're going to be joined by a representative from the Big Gig detailing all that's to come for weekend number 3, the third and final weekend of the 2025 Big Gig. But yeah, look at those temperatures as well. Hot, hot, hot. 88 for tomorrow. That's something. And then 90 and 92 for your Friday and Saturday. So prepare yourselves. It will be a hot one in the old city tonight, tomorrow, and for many days to come. All right, we are going to get to some of the other news of the day. We are following a number of different things for you. This is a podium setup where we're hoping to hear members of the Congressional Black Caucus. They have a scheduled press availability with the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus and other members holding a press conference to address some of the key issues in the Republican proposed mega bill, the spending bill that includes a series of tax cuts that Republicans have pushed for, but also a number of cuts to programs like Medicaid and SNAP benefits that could impact millions of Americans. As soon as someone steps to that podium, if we can bring it to you, we will. The members of the Congressional Black Caucus reacting to the Republican bill that is now working its way through the House after some revisions in the U.S. Senate earlier this week. All of that moving towards the president's self-imposed deadline wanting to sign that tax bill by the 4th of July. We are also following this. The feed from the Brian Kohberger plea hearing just popped up, moving from inside of the courtroom to outside. And you see the bank of microphones there awaiting, we're assuming, both the prosecutors, perhaps even Kohberger's defense attorneys, could speak at this today. But to get you up to speed on some of the things that happened already today on this Wednesday in Boise, Idaho, Brian Kohberger pleaded guilty to murder in the fatal stabbing of 4 different University of Idaho students back in 2022. It feels like we've been talking about this for quite some time, this gruesome quadruple murder. That is why. It goes back to 2022. Now, he agreed to a plea deal just weeks before his trial was to begin, and that was because his attorneys had been trying but failing to have execution stricken as a possible punishment if this did indeed go to trial. That did not happen, hence the reason for the plea deal. The trial was supposed to start in August, expected to last more than 3 months, and an attorney for the family of one of the victims confirmed families of the victims received news of the plea deal in a letter from prosecutors on Monday, and then the plea hearing happening just moments ago there today in Boise, Idaho. Brian Kohberger is a former criminal justice grad student at Washington State University. He was arrested all the way across the country in Pennsylvania weeks after those killings of those 4 students. Investigators said that they matched his DNA to genetic material recovered from a knife sheath found at the crime scene. All throughout this time, going back to the murders themselves of 2022, no motive has emerged for the killings. It's also not clear why Kohberger spared 2 other roommates who were in the home at the time, sleeping at the time. Their 4 other roommates were stabbed and killed. So many questions, certainly for the victims' families, about how this happened, why this happened, who this person is, and how he could do something so gruesome to what was believed to be complete strangers at the time. If you're looking for sentencing information now, so Bryan Kohberger, after pleading guilty today, they will now look to sentencing, which will take place on July 23rd, 9 in the morning local time on July 23rd. Documents in the court file for this will not be unsealed until after the sentencing. So a lot of those questions that so many of us have, certainly the families and members of the media, interested parties following this, or will have to wait until after sentencing for that to be determined. And always curious about this, how someone responds when finding out that they will indeed be guilty of this. Bryan Kohberger pleading guilty, the judge going back and forth. He remained expressionless as he entered that guilty plea, so not even a flicker on the face there. Now, in the meantime, the prosecutor for this trial, would-be trial, now that we won't see the trial, Bill Thompson, mapped out how police were able to go through Kohberger's movements using data from his cell phone and also providing a precise timeline of the stabbings. Kind of makes you think of the Maxwell Anderson trial here in Milwaukee and being able to use that digital data to create a map of a person's movements. Kohberger apparently slipped through the sliding back door of this home where the 4 victims were staying at the time, and then first killed a woman named Madison Mogan, then killed Kaylee Goncalves, before stabbing Zaina Kernodle, who was collecting a DoorDash order at the time. As he was leaving the second person's room, he also killed Kernodle's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, who was asleep in his bed at the time. All of that with a long blade knife. Kohberger, though, left a sheath from that knife in Mogan's room, the first victim. And Thompson, the prosecutor in this, emphasized that there was a single source of male DNA on that knife sheath that matched Bryan Kohberger's DNA, and that was what Bryan Kohberger and his defense attorneys were facing if, in fact, this went to trial. There is also, according to the prosecutor, wanted to emphasize this, that members of the public would not speculate about basically no evidence that any of those victims in these stabbings were sexually assaulted. There's no evidence of that, according to the prosecutors. Bryan Kohberger, though, telling the judge that he is, in fact, guilty of killing those 4 University of Idaho students with that plea hearing today. The reaction from the loved ones, they were crying as the different victims' names were read, as you can imagine. The families in that section set up for them, tearing up, one of them wiping their eyes, others crying in tissues, while Bryan Kohberger remained unemotional, confirming to the judge that he, in fact, stabbed those 4 people almost 3 years ago. And again, the sentencing will now come. Let me get that date for you again. 9 a.m. Local time, July 23rd, back in that Boise courtroom. So if prosecutors or maybe defense attorneys step to that podium in Boise, we will certainly bring you that here on the Wisconsin Live Desk if it fits within our window. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 to 2:30, so if we get any movement on that, something we will certainly bring you today. All right, we are going to take another short break here on the Live Desk. Some more to come over the next hour, including one of our reporters got switched to a very serious story, a sentencing for a trial and case here in southeastern Wisconsin of note. We will bring you that momentarily here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, as well as getting back to some of the fun. We already had the drone show. We are also looking forward to the final weekend of Summerfest with the representative from the Big Gig joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. All that still to come, rolling along here on a Wednesday afternoon.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, Carl Deffenbaugh back with you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We keep it rolling here as we're closing out hour one, hour two still to come with much more here on the Wisconsin Live Desk for you. Let's take you around the city because we have a beautiful one, especially on a day when it's shining so bright like this. The flag above City Hall there, blue skies and those white puffy clouds. 87 degrees. I did mention that earlier, but man, it's going to be hot the next few days, building into summer and all of the July 4th festivities. Let's take you on a tour around our camera system there, Red Arrow Park. Not exactly skating weather, though ice would melt just like that down there. Instead, as people are making their way around downtown, pretty breezy. We at least get that for you here on this Wednesday afternoon. How about the downtown camera showing you a shot of the Milwaukee County Courthouse and kind of the west side of Milwaukee there. And of course our beautiful Estabrook Park Tower camera that we've used for all of the fun to come along the Milwaukee lakefront and our great lake out there this weekend. July 3rd, the drone show for Milwaukee County this year instead of fireworks. The central focal point for that along McKinley Beach, as you heard from our guest Andrea earlier in this hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk. And then, as you can also make out the Hone Bridge there, it is of course Summerfest weekend number 3, and there's even, if you really look closely, there's that plane with a banner flying above the Summerfest grounds. There's been a few of those over the previous 2 weeks of the big gig. So Thursday, you get a bunch of good music. Friday, Saturday as well. And hey, since it's up on Tagboard right now, let's pop this up. The Lumineers get to round out the show at the Summerfest grounds at the American Family Insurance Amphitheater this weekend. So some good things to come for all of us who enjoy good music and a great atmosphere here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We are standing by to hear from our reporter on another story today. Abril Preciado actually got switched to a different story because of the serious nature of this, switched to the sentencing of a teacher, and we will get you some more information about that momentarily. But in the meantime, we continue to give you some looks around the area today. Here we go, popping up the right camera there. Nice shot of Milwaukee, while also at the same time, let's listen in a little bit here. The budget debate continues in Madison at the state capitol building. Milwaukee Senator Dora Drake is back at the podium here discussing the budget bill debate. This is an extraordinary session.
Senator from the 33rd.
As we will get a switch over to the other members here. Let's listen in live since we heard from Senator Drake a moment ago. Let's hear from some of the other people speaking in Madison
the school
today.
Safety issue. I think one of the frustrations, though, is that MPS is first has to have kids show up to go to class if we're going to enforce the safety, and we still have kids who are not showing up, and then the MPS, like, at all. They don't show up to class, and MPS mandated that every single student is passed. Irregardless if they can read, write, or do arithmetic, they passed them. So let's deal with that issue first, because an educated society will be a lot more civil. The second thing the senator from the 4th was talking about is fixing the crime problem, which I agree with. And I was speaking with a constituent of the senator from the 4th about this issue. He was an ex-felon, and he was working through a work program. And I went to visit and had a discussion with the guy who was teaching it. And afterwards, I think there were 7 people in the class, he came up to me, and I'll never forget it. He said, sir, if you want to fix the crime problem in this state, he's like, you need to put those boys to work. Work is the only thing that's going to fix the crime problem. I was like, okay, well, this is someone who's got experience in it, who's got some common sense. That's how we're going to fix this problem. Yet we have a governor who won't even enforce work requirements on welfare, which everybody, 80% of the public supports that. But he's like, no, you just stay back home. So we've got someone here who's got firsthand experience with crime, who came up to me and had the guts to say, you want to fix this problem? Then you put them to work. That's how you're going to fix this problem. All of this other stuff, we're throwing money at it and doing it. There are some things in there that are legitimate. But we can keep playing around the edges here, or we can actually get to the root cause of the issue out there, that is with crime. And that is, if people are working, and he said, he's like, if I'm working, I'm too tired to do anything else. I think that's awesome. So I think we need to take that firsthand knowledge. So if you want to amend this, are we on Amendment 8, Madam President? Amendment 8 to strictly say we're going to put work opportunities in for everyone and put them to work and have them working so they actually have purpose. I would fully support that. Thank you, Madam President.
The senator from the 6th.
And while the debate goes back and forth there at the state capitol building, we are going to switch gears now to a very serious story out of Kenosha, Wisconsin. As I bring in, let me pull her up now, our reporter on this story for us, Abril Preciado, taking you a little bit behind the scenes here for what our reporting staff goes to. Abril was actually working on a completely different story, and then we get word that this sentencing is happening in Kenosha. So Abril, I know you're kind of playing catch up on a lot of this as well, but why don't you lay it out for us? What exactly is at stake here? What is this case that has now reached a final point?
Yeah, so what we know right now is that Christian Enright, that was a former Kenosha teacher who is accused of grooming students, he will be appearing in court here in Kenosha later on today, where he will be appearing for his sentencing hearing. Now, what we know is that he used to work for Kenosha, and he pled guilty. I believe it was back in May to more than a dozen misdemeanor counts of disorderly conduct. And now, according to prosecutors, they were saying that there were multiple messages that he sent out through Snapchat with a student with sexual implications in there. So that's pretty much what we will be hearing and listening in today during his sentencing hearing. Obviously, very explicit content that was shared through there, but that's definitely what we will be checking out today, seeing if we hear anything from him as well and whatnot.
Yeah, always curious with sentencings whether we actually hear from the person found guilty in this case, this former teacher in Kenosha, and whether we hear from any of the people related to or even the victims themselves in this. Just to take folks back here who are watching on the live desk, goes back to May of 2024, actually, charges were first filed, and at the time, the Kenosha Unified School District confirmed that the teacher, Enright, had been fired at the time. It goes to apparently the 30-year-old, a former teacher at Kenosha School of Technology, sent hundreds of different Snapchat messages to a student, so a specific student in this case, some of which did have sexual implications in those messages. Interesting that these are misdemeanor counts of disorderly conduct that he pled guilty to back in this April, but again, being accused of kind of grooming a student at with this Kenosha school. The now former teacher will be sentenced today. Abril, anything that you're particularly looking for or hoping to learn over the rest of your reporting today? I know, again, that you're just kind of getting switched to this, so some of the details coming in, but anything that you're particularly waiting to hear or to see at that sentencing today?
I'm hoping that we get to see maybe if he has any comments or any words to share, and if any of the and also if we will be able to hear from any of the victims, really, because I feel like when we do listen to them, I feel like it just kind of gives like a powerful perspective of the impact and effect it had on the people individually as well. So I think that would be interesting to see, but we'll find out today during the hearing to see what comes out of it as well. But besides that, we'll continue to provide you guys with the latest information on this case. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. No need to apologize or anything like that. I know you're just getting caught up on this, as we all are. That's the beauty of the live desk, right? Things happen on the fly, and we're able to handle it on the fly as well. Just reading a little bit more about this, the Kenosha County Department of Family Services actually got an anonymous report back in February of 2024 claiming that the teacher, again, this then 30-year-old Christian Enright, had an inappropriate relationship with a student, according to that criminal complaint. all of those months, more than a year later, it ends up today with the sentencing as he pled guilty to a series of more than a dozen misdemeanor counts of disorderly conduct. How about some of the logistics, Abril? I know you're headed inside to the courtroom, but what time are we expecting the sentencing, and then when can we look for some of your reporting later today on Fox Local?
Yes, of course. So the sentencing is expected to start at 2:30. So we're planning to go in there, set up early, obviously earlier the better. And then we'll continue the coverage for our 5 o'clock newscast, 6 o'clock, and obviously here with you guys here on the Wild Desk as well.
All right. Thank you very much for joining in. We'll let you get with your photographer, get inside, and get settled, because we do want to make sure that we don't miss that sentencing happening. Abril Preciado joining us live on the Live Desk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carl.
All right, as she gets inside the courtroom, again, just to recap, a really kind of horrific story for any parent listening out there, certainly any student, and kudos to whoever came forward in this case, going back to an anonymous report, February of 2024, claiming that this teacher at the time, 30-year-old Christian Enright, a former teacher at Kenosha School of Technology, had sent hundreds of Snapchat messages to a student, some of them including sexual implications. Now, court records also show that some additional misdemeanors were also dismissed as part of the plea deal that he ended up taking. He is scheduled to be sentenced today, this afternoon. That former Kenosha teacher accused of grooming a student pled guilty back in April 5th. To more than a dozen misdemeanor counts of disorderly conduct after charges were filed in May of 2024. Now, during a police interview, the complainant said that Enright actually admitted he had communicated with the student, but denied that he had done anything wrong. He said he only sent the photos and text because he was, quote, trying to raise her confidence and make her feel better about herself, end quote. But a detective on the case described that behavior from that older teacher, an influential person in that victim's life, as grooming, according to the court filings. So it all ends up with this. He has, back in the timeline now, been fired by the Kenosha Unified School District. Today, though, the sentencing for Christian Enright for dozen or so misdemeanor counts of disorderly conduct. All right, we have to take another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, bouncing back and forth all over the place today, but we are here with you for another 50 minutes or so. We'll give you another shot along the lakefront because it's just a beautiful one today with the clouds and the sunshine out there over our great city, and much more to come on the Live Desk and in Milwaukee this weekend with the 4th of July ahead.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back. It's the Wisconsin Live Desk, hanging with you here on this Wednesday afternoon. 142, 87 degrees already. It is quite steamy and only getting hotter in the city of Milwaukee as we get ready for the 4th of July. So much happening around southeastern Wisconsin, certainly across the entire state for our nation's birthday today. In a couple days, getting ahead of myself there. Though some of the festivities actually start today in the different communities out there. And of course, the drone show along Milwaukee's lakefront coming tomorrow. That would be July 3rd before the different towns and villages hold their fireworks shows over the 4th and even the 5th for some of them, having to delay a bit this year, but that's a separate story. All right, we have a lot to tell you about, including some of the local news when it comes to Summerfest, the return of the big gig for this weekend, number 3 under its still relatively new format. We are going to get to that as well as much more on the drone show from the Milwaukee County Parks officials right now. But in the meantime, let me pop up something else for you here. The debate over the budget bill in Madison continues. And since this is the Wisconsin Live Desk, let's take you to the capital city of Wisconsin. Senator LaTonya Johnson there from Milwaukee's 6th District discussing some of the issues that she has to address with her colleagues there in Madison. Let's listen in.
Choose to flee Wisconsin, and I think that says a lot about our policies. But if you want help fixing the system, I'm here. My doors are always open. Not only do I have expertise in that field, but one of my assistants does too. We met each other over 28 years ago working for the very program that Governor Tommy Thompson put in place, W2 Wisconsin Works, which was designed to make people in Wisconsin have an opportunity to go to work regardless of your skill set. But every single year in this building, I have witnessed this legislature.
And apologies for cutting into the senator there, but we believe that some of the prosecutors in the Brian Kohberger trial have now stepped to the podium. Don't want to miss that out in Idaho. Let's listen in
this criminal case for Karen Laramie and Scott Laramie, the loving mother and stepfather of Maddie Mogan. I will be reading a statement of gratitude today from the Laramies. 962 days ago, we lost our Maddie, our kind, loving, vivacious, and caring daughter full of purpose and promise. We are grateful for the gift of her life, and we have grieved the loss of that life during each of these 962 days. We love you, Maddie, and we miss you. We are grateful for the gift of the young, vivacious, promising lives of Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. And we deeply, deeply mourn their senseless loss. We remain in solidarity with their families and friends, and we continue to shower them with our prayers and support. We are grateful for their prayers, love, and support that they have given us. They have helped us and sustained us during our darkest times. We are grateful to the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, and his dedicated and caring team, including victim coordinators, Kim and Stacy, who have helped to guide us through the sometimes confusing and disorienting legal process. Thank you for all your dedicated, diligent, and tireless commitment to justice and the successful outcome reached today. We support the plea agreement 100%. While we know there are some who do not support it, we ask that they respect our belief that this is the best outcome possible for the victims, their families, and the state of Idaho. We extend our deep gratitude to the many law enforcement officers and staff who worked tirelessly to obtain the critical evidence that brought justice today, including the Moscow Police Department, the FBI, the Idaho State Patrol, and the Latah County Sheriff's Department. We are deeply grateful to Judge Hippler and Judge John Judge before him. We thank you for your diligence, thoughtfulness, and judicial guidance. We appreciate the difficult work you have done to balance the rights of all involved and to uphold the rule of law. You have had our prayers and support throughout this case. We send our love and gratitude to the
Well, that representative of one of the victims in the Brian Koberger murder trial reads that statement from the family there. Quite a powerful moment. We're going to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk and rejoin you with some local news happening here in the city of Milwaukee after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back. Carl Deffenbaugh with you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk as we are working through, a little bit of technical difficulties that sometimes come with doing everything via a streaming app, a digital app. We're working to get you a representative from Summerfest, Kevin Kennedy, hopefully joining us here momentarily. The joy of Zoom in this digital age is that sometimes you have some issues with the actual audio connections for things. So working to get Kevin for you here as we give you another live look along the Milwaukee lakefront where Summerfest is about to get back underway. July 3rd kicks off weekend number 3 for the big gig, as well as where the lakefront drone show will take place this year. And just for a little behind the scenes fun, these are some of the photographers getting white balance and audio levels ready for what will be an update from the Milwaukee County Parks Department on the drone show. We should hear from the a leader of the Milwaukee County Parks Department, Guy Smith, as well as from the county exec, David Crowley, and more, a bit of a preview of what's to come right there along McKinley Beach for July 3rd. But an aerial view of our great city here on this Wednesday afternoon. All right, we also will take you back to Boise, Idaho, where that update from one of the representatives of the victims' families after the Brian Koberger plea hearing today just wrapped up. They are taking the microphones down. If anyone else steps to that podium, we certainly will try to bring you their reactions as well. That was a representative, a family attorney for the Mogan family, Maddie Mogan, one of the 4 victims of Brian Koberger, who just today pled guilty to those 4 murders and will be sentenced later in July. All right, what do you say we give it a shot as we will try to bring in our representative from Summerfest here, Kevin Kennedy, joining us on the live desk. Kevin, I understand the joys of audio. You're kind of hearing every other word from me here in the studio. How is this coming through now? Are you getting me clear, hopefully, or still a bit glitchy?
I'm making out like every 3 or 4 words, so difficult to hear.
How about we try to make this work and you can kind of take it and run? We are approaching weekend number 3 now. Give us the lowdown. What are you excited for and what's to come for the big gig over this 3rd weekend?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to end the fest this last weekend with a bang. I think we've got just a top-notch lineup, starting with our amphitheater with Benson Boone tomorrow night, a really great rock lineup with Bad Omens and Spirit Box on Friday night, and then we end with Lumineers. That's going to be on Saturday night, which is a great show. But we've got just a really eclectic group of artists throughout all the ground stages. We have festival favorites like Third Eye Blind in Chicago, which we know are going to attract big crowds. A lot of kind of younger, up and coming acts, now well known, but Alex Warren with his hit song "Ordinary" right now, I know is going to be a huge show. Max McNown opening up for him is an artist that's really blowing up, and a lot of people are talking about baby metal, which is this sort of fusion of Japanese pop and metal. Which is something very interesting, but they've gotten really big, and so we're excited to have that one down here this weekend as well.
I love that you guys always have such a variety too, right? Music for some of the old heads who are looking to see their favorite bands maybe time and time again, and then bringing some of the newest music in the entire industry to us here in Milwaukee. Tell us about some of the promotions too, because you always have a great lineup, and I know myself, our family's taken advantage of that final day of promotion a few years in a row now, taking the kids down to Summerfest. What's in store for weekend number 3?
Yeah, we have, from a free admission promotion, as part of the legacy of our festival is maintaining, the ability for the festival to be accessible and affordable. And this weekend, we've got 3 really great admission promotions on tap. We start July 3rd with free on the 3rd with Walmart. So everyone's free from noon to 3. You don't have to bring anything in. Just walk through any one of our gates. And then we move into July 4th, which we have a lot of really fun stuff planned for the 4th. Courtesy of our friends at Quick Trip, everyone gets in free from noon to 6. So you can enter in through our gates. And you might have heard our friends at Johnsonville are putting together a pretty big celebration for America's 249th birthday. So they've done a lot of studies on how, maybe we're not coming together and having fun as much as we used to. So from their perspective, why wait till next year for the 250th? They want to celebrate this year for the 249th. So they are bringing a lot of fun to the Somerville stage area they have with a karaoke booth where you can sing Happy Birthday to America, a DJ, a lot of fun games. And then at 9:15, between 9:15 and 9:25, they've brought in Fortune Feimster, who is a comedian you may know. She's going to come out on the U.S. Cellular stage, and she's going to kick off this effort for us to have the most people singing Happy Birthday to America in one setting across our entire grounds, with a drone show in the air as well too. So that's going to be really, really fun for us to celebrate the 4th and to wish America a happy birthday. And then we wrap up the last weekend on Saturday with Fan Appreciation Day from noon to 3. Everyone gets in free from noon to 3 on the last day as well.
Love it, love it. And I can tell you, we were out a couple of the nights last weekend. It seemed like things are just really hitting this year in terms of, we were walking through a sea of people, packed crowds for last weekend with some great weather, some great headliners as well. I know you can't necessarily give us an absolute favorite. It's like picking your favorite child, but what have you seen or heard so far at Summerfest that you'll remember maybe from this year's big gig?
Well, besides seeing, Carl, you play pickleball on the north end.
I wasn't going to bring it up with the paddles behind you.
In our Dean's Pickleball Village. I think one of the favorite experiences here I've seen this year is our immersive art exhibit, Astral Relics of the Great North Woods. If you haven't had a chance to come down and see it yet, it's really an immersive experience like you probably haven't experienced before. It's these 5 30-foot tall tree spirits, these relics that are all, engaged in a circle looking down upon you. There is a tree stump in the middle that has smoke coming out of it, and these panels, you can actually interact with each one of the spirits. So you can make them go through different sounds. And at nighttime, they all light up into this really fun and unique experience. It's been really popular. It's probably been the #1 selfie spot on the ground. So I'd say, there's this weekend especially, so many of our brands and partners are bringing really fun experiences. But you got to make sure, while we have it here this last weekend, that you check out Astral Relics.
Yeah, certainly can confirm. It was pretty cool, especially once the sun goes down and it's all kind of lit up in this mystical, magical way there at the north ends of the grounds. Kevin, I was trying to get through this without bringing up pickleball because you came over at about the time Ted Perry and I were scoring a grand total of 1 point across 2 games. I don't think we exactly showed out particularly well, but hopefully you'll forgive us and maybe have us back next year for more of the fun.
I didn't catch that last question.
It was basically me just saying how terrible Ted Perry and I were at pickleball, so probably better that we leave it at that. All right, Kevin Kennedy hanging out with us there at the festival grounds. Thank you so much for working through some of the audio issues as well here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We appreciate you. All kinds of great music and great promotions to come on weekend number 3 as we wrap up the big gig. Kevin, thank you very much for joining us here on the Live Desk.
Thank you for having me.
He's a good man who, even when I try to set him up to rip me for my pickleball skills, just pretends that he can't hear that specific question. But no, I think thank you to Kevin for working through a few of the technical difficulties there. And yeah, Ted and I will attempt to be much, much better, hopefully, because there's a lot of room for improvement. We did beat a 5-time gold medalist. We beat Bonnie Blair and her partner out there at the Summerfest grounds, although Bonnie Blair not exactly known for her pickleball skills. We did not have to race her on an ice rink, that's for sure. She would have smoked us out there as we got smoked in many of the pickleball matches as well. But a lot of fun, so much to enjoy down there along the festival grounds. All right, we have to take another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. The one other thing we're tracking for you over the last half hour or so of today's Live Desk. What a beautiful shot there, the podium along Milwaukee's lakefront, where different members of Milwaukee County leadership, the county exec, the leader of the county parks department, and more will discuss the drone show. So much going on this weekend in Milwaukee and the southeastern Wisconsin region when it comes to Summerfest, the drones in Milwaukee, the fireworks across the area for the 4th of July, and much more on a great long summer weekend coming for so many.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk, 201, and we keep rolling here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 to 2:30. Our different feeds of cameras, the bank behind me here, that can take you all around Milwaukee, all around the country, and even the world sometimes for the news as it happens. One thing I mentioned, we are awaiting that update from county officials on the drone show. We got a bit of a preview from Andrea Wallace early in today's Wisconsin Live Desk, but going to bring you that press conference from along the lake at McKinley Beach, which will be the focal point for this first ever drone show that Milwaukee County will put on for the 4th of July. Of course, there are fireworks always on the 3rd of July. That's when the drone show will be again tomorrow. So we'll get a preview of that from County Exec David Crowley, as well as the leader of the Parks Department, Guy Smith, and many others down there along the lakefront. And since we just had Kevin Kennedy joining us from Summerfest, giving you another live look at Milwaukee. Let's run through some of those headliners that he mentioned. A great final weekend ahead. You got Benson Boone performing at the American Family Insurance Amphitheater. Tomorrow night. Keep jumping ahead to July 3rd. I'm just hopeful here. He will be the headliner to open weekend number 3 at the AMP for Summerfest weekend number 3. Some of the other ones that you have to look out for at the big stage. Oh, hey, that's a fun one. That was back to some of the Bucks news. Sorry about that. Bad Omens will be the headliner for the 4th of July at the Summerfest grounds. And then after that, to wrap up the big gig, the Lumineers performing with special guest Hippocampus opening the show. I just like saying Hippocampus as many times as I can. That will be Saturday night at the amphitheater. All right, let's get you back to what we are checking. Oh, apologies for that. Need to take that off. Hold on. I can do this, people. There we go. All right. David Crowley, the county executive, stepping to the podium there, ready to address the media and preview this year's drone show. Let's listen in live to the county exec.
Great day to be here on our beautiful lakefront. I do want to quickly shout out 2 of our county board supervisors that we have here, which is Sean Rolland and Kathleen Vince. I want to say thank y'all for joining us because we know that when the summer is here, there's a lot for us to do. We know down the street we got Summerfest that's rocking, and I know the Brewers are on a road trip, and hopefully they're going to be knocking it out the park this week. But we have a lot happening for the 4th of July. We got fireworks, we have parades, we have family-friendly activities that are coming to different neighborhoods all across Milwaukee County. But we are here because we're excited to talk about the return of one of Milwaukee's favorite traditions. And so I'm excited to welcome everyone back to the lakefront on this 3rd of July for an exciting Independence Day celebration along our stunning shorelines. Now, this is in partnership with our Milwaukee Parks Foundation and our amazing sponsors right here within the Milwaukee County area. But this is allowing us, our Milwaukee County Parks, to bring an unforgettable experience along our shoreline in the sky. So at approximately 9:15 p.m. on July 3rd, tomorrow, we're going to be kicking off a spectacular drone celebration, drone show for Independence Day, and it will be celebrating the birth of our nation in a new, fresh, and modern way. So there will be a new twist. And so after a brief break last year in 2024, we know that we had to pull out all the stops and bring something back to make sure that people can enjoy this beloved tradition. But again, it's going to have a new exciting twist because we know how deeply meaningful this is for families, not just here in Milwaukee County, but across our entire region to gather with one another. And so this year's show is something brand new. And I could not be more excited to see the sky light up over McKinley Beach along our amazing lakefront. And so we are teaming up with Northern Lights Drone Shows, who are known to being true experts in creating jaw-dropping displays that I believe is going to wow our entire crowds. And trust me, you have never seen a show like this. It's going to be featuring some of Milwaukee's most iconic landmarks. You're going to see patriotic displays and a little bit of surprises at the end that's sure to bring some oohs and some ahs from the crowd. But before I continue to go on, I do want to express my deep gratitude to our presenting sponsor, and that is Michael Hupy, for making this event a reality. And so I want to say thank you for stepping up to the community in a huge, big way, but also to all of our sponsors who are stepping up. And we're incredibly grateful for them coming to the table, you'll hear a lot from shortly, particularly for our Milwaukee Parks Foundation. And as I speak about our Milwaukee Parks Foundation, I do have to say that none of this would be possible if it wasn't for the collaboration and partnership of the Milwaukee Parks Foundation. So we truly appreciate what you bring to the table every single day. And I know that folks may be still wondering, why are we doing a drone show instead of the fireworks? Well, there are a lot of compelling reasons as to why. Now, first and foremost, this drone show costs $200,000 less than our traditional fireworks show. Drones are cleaner, they're greener, they're safer, and they don't produce smoke, particles, and debris like fireworks do when we've had them in the past. They've even proven to be environmentally friendly, which is particularly important as we want to continue to make sure that our lakefront is not only clean, but that it's continuing to be healthy as well. Drone shows are also quieter. They make the show less disruptive and more accessible and enjoyable for our pets, for people, and our wildlife. But they're also operated in a controlled airspace, gently reducing the risk of uncontained fires and physical injuries. And let's be honest, drone shows are pretty cool. There's a lot of things that you can do with drone shows that you can't do with fireworks. And so this is an opportunity for us to combine some cutting-edge technology with community celebration to bring an exciting, innovative, and eco-friendly celebration to our lakefront. And so I want to encourage all of the folks here in Milwaukee, across our entire region, to bring your family, bring your friends, bring your neighbors, and head on down to our beautiful lakefront this Thursday night to experience this together. And so I promise this is a celebration that none of you want to miss. This is going to be a first of its kind for us here with our Parks Department. Because we want to make sure that we continue to be our best. And we know that we can be our best when we can provide these types of opportunities for people to come together, when we can celebrate with each other and really create even more memorable experiences to share with future generations. So please join us as we light up the sky on the 3rd of July. And so I can't wait to see so many people down here filling up our beaches, our parks, to see what's going on. And so I can't wait to see you there. And so with that, I'd like to bring up a great partner, a great friend, a great director that we have within our Milwaukee County organization, and that is our Parks Director, Guy Smith, to share a few words.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us to get ready to light up the lakefront in a whole new way. On behalf of Milwaukee County Parks, I want to welcome you to what promises to be a truly unforgettable celebration. This year, we're embracing a more sustainable and innovative approach to our July 3rd festivities with a high-flying drone show that brings together art, technology, and community. This exciting experience wouldn't be possible with the incredible support of our sponsors, our partners in public safety, and of course, Milwaukee County residents that love and support their parks. So let's dive into what you can expect for this year's show. The show will start approximately at 9:15 p.m. and will unfold in 3 breathtaking waves of drone visuals, totaling approximately 45 minutes. These drones will dance across the sky with patriotic themes, the iconic Milwaukee landmarks, and a custom soundtrack that you can stream to enhance the experience. McKinley Beach is the main viewing location, but there's also other spots to take in the show from the nearby surrounding areas. To help guide your experience, we've designated color-coded viewing zones. The green zone offers the best visuals and live audio. The yellow zone, good visuals, we recommend downloading the music in advance. The orange zone, which is limited visuals, and downloading the soundtrack is highly recommended. The synchronized music is a big part of the show, so be sure to check countyparks.com, that's countyparks.com, for info on how to access that audio. Parking lots will open at 2 p.m. on July 3rd, including McKinley Tennis Courts in the Coast Guard Station lot. Parking is $20 per vehicle, cash only, and space is limited, about 1,000 spots, so plan ahead. Of course, we're going to have food and beverage vendors, and those will start at approximately 3 p.m. We'll be offering kettle corn, roasted nuts, ice cream, donuts, and beer from local favorites like Molson Coors and Lakefront Brewery. Restrooms and porta-johns will be available throughout the site, and once you've parked, you can begin reserving your viewing spot. Please note that staking and overnight camping is not allowed. For everyone's safety, roads near McKinley Beach may close prior to and during the event. Boats are not permitted within the drone fly zone, and views from the water will be limited. We are coordinating closely with the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, Milwaukee Police, the U.S. Coast Guard, and additional partners to ensure a smooth and secure experience for all attendees. We are deeply grateful to Mr. Michael Hupy of Hupy and Abraham and to the many community-minded organizations who helped bring this vision to life. Johnson Controls, Carroll University, Northwestern Mutual, Milwaukee Admirals, Bank of America, the Brewers Community Foundation, Nan Gardetto, and T&M Partners. I also want to give a special thanks to the Milwaukee Parks Foundation for their support and to the County Executive David Crowley for his vision. This is more than a show. It's a reflection of how Milwaukee County is moving forward, prioritizing sustainability, creativity, and community. We hope you'll join us in making this new tradition a success. For the latest updates, viewing maps, and audio streaming info, please visit countyparks.com. Thank you, and we'll see you on the lakefront on July 3rd. And I'd love to turn it over to my friend, Rebecca Stoner, who's the Executive Director at the Milwaukee Parks Foundation.
Good afternoon, everyone. What a beautiful day at the lakefront. Thank you all for being here. So like I mentioned, my name is Becky Stoner. I'm the Executive Director of the Milwaukee Parks Foundation. And at Milwaukee Parks Foundation, our mission is to collectively steward a thriving park system. So whenever we can, we want to invest in initiatives that bring people from all walks of life to our parks, like this, the July 3rd Drone Show. We know that parks are people places, and reimagining this celebration in an innovative way is creating an opportunity for families, friends, and neighbors to come together and celebrate our city. And this would not have been possible without public-private partnership. And so once more, bear with me, I do just want to thank our sponsors again. I want to thank presenting sponsor, Attorney Hupy. We also have sponsors here from Northwestern Mutual Foundation, Johnson Controls, Milwaukee Admirals, Carroll University, especially their Aviation and Drone Technologies Department, TNM Partners, thank you Ted and Mary Kellner, Nan Gardetto, and of course the Brewers Community Foundation. So thank you all again for making this possible, and I hope to see you tomorrow night. With that, I will introduce our presenting sponsor, Attorney Hupy.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
No one wants to hear a lawyer talk for an hour, so I'm going to keep this short. Last year, I was very disappointed that we didn't have the fireworks show. Many other people, 100,000 or more other people, were also disappointed. So I decided I'm going to bring it back this year, if I have to pay for it myself. I contacted the county, and by the time I did, they had already settled on a drone show instead of a fireworks show. So I became the presenting sponsor. I'm very happy I did. I'm looking forward to this. I've had many positive comments about doing this, and I'm happy to be part of it and part of the Milwaukee community. My wife and I have been married and lived in this neighborhood for 37 years, and we are looking forward to this tomorrow. Thank you. And are you next? Tomorrow?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Truly appreciate it.
Happy to help.
Absolutely. All right, so hopefully you will all be descending upon our lakefront on July 3rd. Again, the drone show will be starting at 9:15. But come on, bring your family, bring your friends. And if you can't make it, please tell those that you may know. And with that, we'll take any questions folks may have.
Quick question. Listen, it's not forecasted, but does rain or wind affect the ability of the drones to put on a show?
That's a...
Good afternoon, Guy Smith, Milwaukee County Parks. So if there is incessant rain or very high winds, that can affect it. Like you said, it's not projected with the weather. However, we did have a backup for July 6th in case we need to do a makeup date. So we just wanted to plan ahead.
Many families have celebrated the 3rd of July with Milwaukee County on the lakefront for years and years. Are the fireworks a thing of the past? Will we ever see the fireworks return?
Well, our focus is to be environmental sustainable as well as fiscally sustainable, and I believe that this event, this drone show, is going to replace the fireworks, yes.
So can people look forward to drone shows for years to come?
That is our hope, and I may or may not have heard from our presenting sponsor that they might want to be the presenting sponsor next year.
I think it's also important to point out that there are still fireworks shows that happens throughout Milwaukee County in local Milwaukee County parks. So you can visit your local municipality to learn more about those fireworks shows in your particular area.
So this is going to be a little bit different for everyone. So just walk us through. Parking starts at 2. You'll not be able to stake a spot until after 2 p.m.
That is correct. Yes. So at 2 o'clock, that's when folks can, bring in their chairs, their blankets for the lawn, certain things like that. And we're asking people not to put tents up because we want to make sure not to block the show.
What about kind of those shaded umbrellas? Because if it's like tomorrow, it could be
That is permissible, yes.
Okay. And will all of those spots be blocked off until 2 p.m., like all of the viewing areas on the map?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Absolutely.
Anything else? Thank you.
I really appreciate everyone being here, seriously. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go, just a series of questions there for the different officials as a new kind of tradition starts in Milwaukee County. So many people that would hang out along the lakefront and set up for hours ahead of time, having whole barbecues. Oh, looks like we might not be done yet. Let's see, Guy Smith, the Parks Director, perhaps stepping back to the podium.
Sure. You mentioned there will be a couple of food vendors with some snacks. People bringing alcoholic beverages. What are the rules for that?
So people can bring in their own food and non-alcoholic beverages. Thank you.
All right, a simple but important answer. Don't bring your alcohol with you. You can bring NA alcohol and then buy products from Molson Coors and from Lakefront Brewery as well down along the lakefront. All right, should be fun to see though. I mean, it's something that we've seen in different celebrations. Summerfest and some of the other celebrations have had drone shows, but perhaps nothing to this scale like what we're going to see along the lakefront tomorrow night. And as you can hear from the different answers there, Michael Hupy's in for next year too, so get used to it as we'll get at least 2 years of this big drone show along the lakefront. A bit different, as you heard. Get there anytime after 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. You can set up and enjoy some of the festivities. And then from there, enjoy the drone show to follow. Also, that app that he mentioned, Guy Smith mentioned there, the president of the Parks Department, go to the Milwaukee County website if you want to find that app, which will have music that you're able to link up and listen to if you're not close to the speakers there at McKinley Beach. You'll be able to listen to that music through your phone and get kind of the full effect of music paired with the dance of the drones in the skies above Milwaukee. Can't wait to check it out and see what some of the photos are like after the fact from that as well. All right, it's the Wisconsin Live Desk. We roll right along. Still 11 more minutes here. We take you to 2:30 each and every Monday through Friday. Hanging out with you here ahead of a very busy long holiday weekend for many. We do have to take a short break and then a couple other things I want to mention on the other side of this break here on the Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, Carl Duffenbaugh back with you here, 2:22 Make a wish. It's 2:22 out there for just a little bit longer here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We are rolling right along each and every day, 12:30 to 2:30, hanging out with you here. A number of different things, certainly when it gets to the lighter affair for you here locally, the drone show, Summerfest, Weekend 3 preview, and much more that we've covered already. The big news of the day throughout the state of Wisconsin, the decision from the Wisconsin Supreme Court, while not a shocking one, a momentous one, that basically strikes down the 1849 abortion law in the state, a ruling from the 4 liberal justices on the High Court that rules that came out in the state and laws that were enacted after the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision and between the Dobbs decision of just a few years ago take precedence and supersede that abortion law that was much publicized, the 1849 law that factored into so many of the recent elections, presidential elections, the debates between Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump, the Supreme Court races as well. Instead, there will be access to abortion up until the point of viability now for women in Wisconsin who are seeking that procedure. Now, some of the other news that we're following here today, I want to give you another live look outside of that New York courtroom, those doors that we've become so familiar with over the last few weeks. Sean Diddy Combs found not guilty on the most serious charges he faced, while also being convicted of 2 different prostitution offenses today. That came down after about 3 days of jury deliberations from that New York jury. So Combs found guilty on 2 counts of transportation for purpose of prostitution, and those still carry a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison, though it remains to be seen what the potential sentence will be for Combs and from that judge. Meanwhile, not guilty on the most serious counts he faced, racketeering conspiracy, and then 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. Each of those 3 would have carried a maximum sentence of life in prison. So quite a dramatic decision from that jury in New York today. Some of the other information that comes out of this, the judge in this case has set a 5 p.m. Court hearing for a bail decision. And I want to get you the details on this because immediately after the jury verdict came down, then it was a back and forth from the prosecutors and Combs' defense attorneys about what bail would be available. Sean Combs is still in custody as of this moment. His attorneys want him released while he awaits sentencing. They were proposing a $1 million bond signed by himself, his mother, his sister, and the mother of his oldest daughter, while prosecutors oppose any release, saying that he was still convicted of crimes of violence, even though they were the lesser of the 5 charges he faced, still crimes of violence. So the prosecutors do not want any release before his sentencing. The court in this case has said that the judge will come back into that courtroom at 5 p.m. local time, so that would be 4 p.m. here in the Central Time Zone, to make a decision on the bail request, whether Sean Diddy Combs will remain in jail until sentencing or whether he could be out of jail on a $1 million bond. That is what his attorneys are asking for. Now, the other thing I wanted to tell you about is some of that possible possible sentencing, a look at the potential sentence facing up to 10 years in prison. It's expected that the 3-time Grammy winner, who was convicted of flying people around the country, including his former girlfriends, as well as paying male sex workers to engage in sexual encounters, well, that would be a violation of the 115-year-old federal law called the Mann Act. A law originally prohibited the interstate transport of a woman or girl for prostitution or debauchery. Now, what could come in terms of a possible sentence for that? Let me pull this up. A maximum sentence of 10 years. The jury, though, acquitting Combs of the more serious crime. So it remains to be seen what could happen. The U.S. District Judge will have plenty of discretion in this. Consecutive sentences also not common. So despite 2 different counts, it's expected that he would serve those at the same time, not necessarily consecutively. So again, that bail hearing is coming. That will be around 5 p.m. in New York City, 4 p.m. for us here in the Central Time Zone, and then after that, will be the decision on bail, and then eventually the sentencing for Sean Diddy Combs coming at some point down the road. I just lost that date for you. I apologize, but we'll get it for you. I believe that's coming potentially later this summer then. Now, something else we are tracking for you here on this, what is it? Wednesday afternoon. Sometimes you lose track of things. It was to give you a live look at downtown Milwaukee there. City Hall, standing tall, 87 degrees already, as we'll pop up our friends in the weather offices, a handy-dandy graphic there. 87 degrees. We give you that same shot along the lakefront with all of what's to come over the next few days here in Milwaukee. We've heard so much about this drone show. We'll be very curious to hear from people what it's like and how this new era for the county parks 4th of July celebrations is received. It will be different. Again, it's a more targeted experience, not necessarily the full day affair up and down the lakefront that the Milwaukee fireworks became over the decades for so many different families out there. Instead, focus more on McKinley Beach. I thought this was interesting from the information there from the County Parks Director, Guy Smith. Different colored zones. So if you're heading down to the lakefront, you want to make sure you're in those different zones. So kind of a green zone where you'll be able to see and hear everything pretty clearly. A yellow zone where it gets to be a little bit perhaps harder to see, but still you can get the music through that app if you want to check it out. And then a more outside zone where some of the visuals could be blocked of the different images coming through. A celebration of Milwaukee coming on the 3rd of July, ahead of also what we are looking forward to at Summerfest. And a quick rundown of the headliners for you at the American Family Insurance Amphitheater for the final weekend of the big gig, Benson Boone. This has been a highly anticipated concert starting when it was announced many months ago now. The star of TikTok fame, all over the radio, doing backflips at the Grammys. He will be performing at the amphitheater on Thursday night to get weekend number 3 started down there at Henry Meyer Festival Park. You get Bad Omens and Spirit Box as the headliners on the 4th of July, ready for the rock fans down there along the lakefront. And then finally, the Lumineers wrap up the 2025 edition of the big gig at the biggest stage on the festival grounds there with Hippocampus. Can't say it enough. The opening act there before the Lumineers take over. I know that's been a quite sought-after ticket for so many. That's going to do it for us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back with you